Can you tell us, please, the difference between good EMFs and bad EMFs?
Well, you're going to hear a term called electrosmog very often. So electrosmog is the negative EMFs emitted by cell phones, cordless phones, computers, TVs, anything electronic that you plug into a wall is going to have some measure of an electronic field. Even the household wiring. So if you sleep near an electrical outlet, there's a very high probability that you're going to be exposed to negative EMFs. Now, the reason why most electrical wiring is negative is because it oscillates at a very specific frequency, which is 60 hertz. Well, here in the US, it's 60 hertz. I'm not sure what it is there. But it's not that 60 hertz in and of itself is a bad frequency. I was looking through Spooky several times, and I noticed that 60 came up quite often for different programs. It's not that 60 in itself is bad. It's the fact that it's oscillating constantly at 60 hertz. It doesn't change. It's, and you could take I'm trying to think of an example. Anything can be good or bad for the body. So anything in excess can cause damage. So that's what the electrical wiring does, or electrosmog. Now, good EMFs, there's three primary things that you want to look for. One is a constant change in the frequency, well, a regular change every few minutes or every so often, and change in the intensity helps to benefit. If you keep it at a constant intensity, cells tend to adapt very quickly. So you want to alter the intensity every so often, and then the type of the waveform. Now, without going into too much detail, here in the US, another problem with the electrical wiring in our household is that the wiring carries what's known as a Lilly wave, which is a carrier wave on top of the primary, the 60 hertz cycling. And this carrier wave is supposed to be additionally harmful to us. If anybody wants to look that up, again, that's a whole other subject, but if they look it up, I'm sure that they could find some information, because I know there are quite a few articles on the internet about it. But so with PEMFs, it's the primary ones are sine, square, triangle, and sawtooth. So those are the four that you're going to have. And the main thing is to use different ones, experiment with them, and find out what works for you, because they're going to have different benefits.
The supply authorities found that the Lilly wave was the one that was easily transported over the sinusoidal of 60 hertz or 50 hertz, and it is also the waveform that was best suited for transfer through your skull to your brain. Mm-hmm. And so some people started up with their theories of why people, what they're trying to do inside our heads.
Yeah, I mean, I've read that it just makes the electricity work better, to like the really far fringe, which is that it's intentionally there to cause psychological issues, mental issues. So.